Atlanta has a long championship history in NASCAR. For 16 years, this is where the titles were won as the final race of the season. And tonight, another chance for the championship contenders to make or break their title hopes. Some food for thought. No Nationwide Series champion has ever gone on to win the title without winning a race first. But first, let's go trackside to get this one rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the United States Customs and Border Protection Honor Guard present our nation's colors. Remain standing as Pastor Paul Leslie from McDonough Christian Church offers tonight's invocation.
Pray with me. Father in heaven, we thank you for the awesome opportunity to gather tonight. We stand in respect out of you, Father, just like the drivers and crew chief did in their pre-meeting. We also honor the men and women who serve freedom all over the world. God, tonight, would you give these drivers courage, the ability to fight well. Lord, we came to see a race. If pain is exchanged, let them be safe. Bless those coming over the wall tonight, God. Bless the officials. Give them wisdom and discernment in all they do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
In honor of our troops, we ask that you place your right hand over your heart as national recording artist from Atlanta, Georgia, Candy Nicole, performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
As the drivers start to climb into those cars, we start thinking about the many, many storylines we'll be following in this one, including, can Kyle Busch do something he has never before done in this series at this track? So who will get the win tonight? Who will the biggest challenge be for these drivers, and what will it be? All things we will think about when we come back after this break. Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, you know, considering Kyle Busch is the winningest driver in Nationwide Series history, it's hard to believe he has never won at this track in the Nationwide Series. That's kind of what I'll be watching for tonight, an elusive first for Kyle Busch. What about you two?
I'm going to be watching Austin Dillon. I'm going to see if he can get his mojo back, rhythm, whatever you want to call it. He's only 6 points out of the lead right now, and he loves those mile-and-a-halfs.
I'm going to say it again, to add to the luster of the great young one, Kyle Larson. Can he get that win before these last 10 races are up?
Enough of you guys. Let's go upstairs to the booth where we'll find Andy Petrie, Dale Jarrett, and tonight, Alan Bestwick.
She just said enough of
I did.
All right, it's our turn. You know, over the summer of this 2013 season in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, a real rivalry has developed, kind of like a mini Yankees-Red Sox or Alabama-Auburn, but Joe Gibbs Racing's 54 car and Roger Penske's 22. What a rivalry.
Yeah, it really has heated up, you know, and as a driver, you always enjoyed that opportunity to race against somebody that you felt like that each and every week was the challenge. That was your benchmark of who you wanted to beat, whether you always were around each other or if it was a sponsor deal, but you wanted to get it done. In this case, it isn't about two drivers. You can see there's a number of drivers with each of these teams getting the job done. It's about these teams getting to be the very best. And if you don't think that it's a real thing, go down in that garage area and talk to these team members about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of mutual respect between these two teams in the garage area, but the rivalry's there no less. I've talked to both these crew chiefs, and they feel it. They really want to win races with their team, but they want to win this championship. And talk to Jeremy Bullins a little bit about what's more important. He says the way they've got the lead in the points is by winning races, and so he's putting more emphasis on that.
And on the Joe Gibbs side of that rivalry, Kyle Busch, 0 for Atlanta in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, one of the few places Kyle has not won at yet. Well, this Atlanta track known for wearing tires and being very difficult to keep grip on. Combine that with NASCAR's rules for the Nationwide Series, limiting the number of sets of tires a team can use, and this race is a handful for the driver and crew chief.
Yeah, it's nothing new to have a limited set of tires to work with, but this track is the most demanding on that because you can have so much speed difference between old tires and new tires. You're going to see some teams maybe want to save a set back and take a chance on using them late in the race and hoping that they can.
I'm going to urge my crew chief to have me a set of tires at the end of this because it could really make a difference.
Well, they've got fresh tires bolted on now. Will they have enough at the end of the race if we see that late caution come out? Always a fascinating night at Atlanta. Right now, time to go trackside and get the race going.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome our Grand Marshal, Great Clips franchisee, and co-op president, Greg Thomas.
It's great to see everybody here tonight. I just wanted to thank Great Clips and Grit Chips for sponsoring this race. I'd also like to thank all of the Great Clips hairstylists that made this very unique cross promotion such a huge success. Y'all are awesome. Now let's have a great race. Drivers, start your engines.
Only half of that point. A steamy 84 degrees Saturday night in Atlanta. And we're ready for some great racing for the NASCAR Nationwide Series on this very fast but very demanding mile-and-a-half track. Our ESPN in-race reporter tonight is already a two-time winner in the NASCAR Nationwide Series this season. Yeah, he's driving tonight that Roger Penske 22 that's part of that great rivalry at the top of the Nationwide Series standings. Logano mastering the Monster Mile back in June and winning again on his what was supposed to be off weekend at Chicagoland after the captain's call. We'll talk to Joey next on the Pace Laps. The live scene at the Atlanta Motor Speedway as the field rolls from the pit lane out onto this giant mile-and-a-half track, ready for tonight's NASCAR Nationwide Series 300-miler 3 parade and pace laps between now and the green flag. Our ESPN in-race reporter for the night, one of the favorites to win the race, but starting back in 16th place, Joey Logano driving the Penske's 22.
Hey, Joey, Dale Jeff, the ESPN. Good to talk to us there, young man.
10-4, yeah, I got you.
All right, Joey. Hey, we've been talking about maybe a little rivalry that's going on for this Owners' Championship between your 22 team and the 54 team. I think a lot of fans think that maybe the drivers aren't very conscious of that or don't care that much about it. You're out there just to win races and whatever happens. But in the conversation I had with you this morning, you and especially Brad are pretty fired up about winning this thing, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. And, you know, the other way we're going to beat them is actually win because they're pretty good. And this 22 team's every bit as good, if not better. So we will fight them hard all the way down to Homestead. And, yes, it is in the back of all our minds, but we're here to win tonight.
Hey, Joey, our mailbag question comes from up in your part of the country from Groton, Connecticut, and is from Tyler. He says the track surface in Atlanta is one of the oldest in the Nationwide Series. With the addition to the new tire, in practice, did you find you had to drive differently to manage these tires?
That's what makes Atlanta so much fun. It's, you know, you got no grip from the get-go, and it's going to be just as hard for Jeremy to call this race because the tires wear out so much, and as a driver, you got to, you know when to hold them, know when to hold them, I guess, and you know when to push it hard. And you know, starting back here, we're going to go a little bit harder than I probably want to get going, but we'll have to take care of it to a certain amount to be there at the end of this run.
All right, Joey, thanks for talking with us. We'll look forward to talking to you later on. Now, Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Jeremy Bullins.
And 4.
Hey, Jeremy Bullins, Andy Petrie in the booth. You have us?
That's it.
Jeremy, you've had a ton of success already this year with all the race wins, but how important is it to you and this team to win this Owners' Championship?
That's a big deal for us. It's one trophy that Roger doesn't have, and you know, we've got our sights set on bringing that thing home to Penske Racing.
Well, it's going to be a tough race tire management-wise, and are you willing to gamble with that today to win, or are you going to try to do the best you can to make to score the most points?
I think this race is always a gamble. You only have 4 sets of tires, and you have to manage when you use them. So I think the guy with the last set of tires is going to be in pretty good shape. So it's just a gamble to when you put the last set of tires on. So that's going to be everybody's guess.
Well, when you roll the dice, I hope you win. Thanks for talking to us.
Jeremy Mullins, crew chief for Joey Logano, our ESPN in-race reporter that starts in 16th. High-definition onboard cameras tonight. Riding with Austin Dillon, who has our AdvoCare on board from the front row. Casey Kane's got the Goodyear onboard camera. Elliott Sadler with our Sunoco on board. And Brian Vickers with the Toyota onboard camera. Saw Joey Logano with the Ford EcoBoost camera. Justin Allgaier has the Chevy on board. Kevin Harvick has a Nationwide insurance camera. And the pole sitter Kyle Busch also with a Nationwide insurance camera. Final stories from pit road on the last lap before green. Here's Dave.
AB, Kyle Busch has won 9 times in the Nationwide Series this season, 6 times when he's been the fastest qualifier. Guess what? He's the fastest qualifier tonight, and he's the odds-on favorite going into the start of the race. Vince Welch.
When you talk to Sam Hornish and his crew chief Greg Irwin about what it's going to take to win the championship down these final 10 races, the word consistency keeps popping up. Consistency. Minimize the mistakes and make the most of the opportunities. Don't take crazy chances on pit lane and have a balance of give and take on the track. Sounds so much easier than what it really is. Jamie Little?
Well, Elliott Sadler and this 11 team have had their share of challenges this year. That's why they were thrilled to get to test at a 1.5 mile track last week at Texas Motor Speedway. The team said they learned some things there they feel will help them tonight in their brand new race car. Mike Nascar?
Just once. That's how many times Regan Smith has finished inside the top 5 in the last 10 races. Adversity, though, isn't getting this team down. Crew Chief Greg Ives says this recent stretch will ultimately make him and this team stronger. They're looking to prove that tonight. They roll off 5th, looking for their 3rd win of the season.
Mike, thanks. Track measures just over 1.5 miles, 1.54 miles. It's 195 laps to get the 300-mile distance tonight. Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon on the front row. Joey Logano back in row number 8, and we're ready for the green flag in Atlanta. Kyle Busch leads lap 1. Loved that 3-wide fan out on the Atlanta high banks.
Yeah, you can already see why we love this racetrack so much. Right from the start, they're 3-4 wide. They can use every inch of this racetrack because the grip level is just about the same all the way through. They'll be chasing it, though, as the tires wear out.
Yeah, and that's why the drivers love it, is you have to search around this racetrack. It may start out at one spot for you and your race car, but you may have to search, move around to the middle, to the top, to find exactly where your car is the best throughout the night.
Elliott Sadler 11, Brian Scott 2, making some ground up using that high line last time by, and still Joey Logano. He's got a good car and he wants to go, but he's got to be careful too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does. He doesn't want to be that. He wants to be able just to be solid and go on. But he's not going to have to wait too long because there'll be some people with handling issues that he'll be able to pass.
I saw him right there make the move. Just pretty conservative, not taking any chances. And here he goes middle. Well, he looked at 3 wide. You see Kyle Larson making his way forward a little bit in that 32.
Yeah, the thing about this, we see the drivers love this 3 wide, that you can do it, yeah, and with no problem really. But you have a harder grip on the steering wheel at this racetrack from the very first lap because there is that lack of grip, and the car gets away from you before you know it if you're not careful. So you have to be on your toes from the beginning.
7th, 8th, and 9th place here, and 10th place. Regan Smith in the 7, a little bobble there, getting down into the corner, but picks up a spot on Michael Annett in the 43.
See Elliott Sadler just kind of showing him the fender and backing off real early in the race to be forcing a 3-wide move.
Nelson Piquet Jr. in the 30, and Justin Allgaier in the 31, also part of this fight for a spot.
You see Justin Allgaier first. you can actually see the cars move around on this racetrack versus some mile-and-a-half racetracks. If you ever see a car move like that, usually they're crashed. But here they seem to be able to do it, get away with it lap after lap. Was that Michael Annett kicking up dust up in the high lane? See, even on the straightaway, we saw Elliott Sadler actually wiggle on the straightaway.
Yeah, there's just so much character I'll use about this racetrack, and the drivers love it. And it's what I'm saying. You never really get a break because you're either in traffic or there's something going on all the time. You're anticipating your next move, what you should do, how you should go about making that move, where your car works best. It's a tough 300 miles.
You saw that big run Sadler in the 11 got off the high side of 2, and he had to be ready of what to do with it when he got there.
Yeah, same thing with Vickers. You see he got that big run on the top on Justin Allgaier in that 31 and just trying to find a place to take that momentum.
Yeah, especially with these cars because they don't have the horsepower of the Cup cars. When you have that momentum, you want to be able to use it and put it to good use. It's not always that opportunity there, though.
So early on, Logano not making any progress up through the pack. Kyle Busch doing all the leading, but we're just underway at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Sun starting to set in the western sky after a steamy day here in Hampton, Georgia. The NASCAR Nationwide Series 300-miler at Atlanta Motor Speedway just underway in its very early stages tonight. The Great Clips Grit Chips 300, inviting you to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy for all the live race coverage from Atlanta tonight. 10 HD live race views, live chat, live leaderboard for you at NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. So, how much of a handful can this Atlanta racetrack be for these drivers? We illustrate.
Yeah, you want to get down to that yellow line if you can, if your car's handling down there. But you can see you get down there, get a little bit under it, and it kind of just sucks you back down there. You watch Sam Hornish with this.
Yeah, he gets just on that seam, and his car really hooks the front and turns the back end loose, and you can see he lost that spot to Regan Smith. Yeah, you can almost see that, Dale, how it just pulled the front of the race car down over that seam.
Yeah. You like for that to help you right there. If your car's a little bit on the tight side, you can get that left front down there. But if you're just a little bit free, see Kyle Busch, he's using
now,
the
he can do
advantage right there.
He is now. He's doing it. That's pretty cool there.
This racetrack will make a driver work behind the wheel as hard as any racetrack on the circuit, especially as the laps go on a set of tires and the car starts to give up grip.
And Dale, I got to think, and I've always preached this to drivers at this racetrack, to try to manage the tires. Try not to run them off in that first 10 laps so you have something at the end of the run.
Yeah, you can take off and run as hard as you want, but you got to understand, for each one of those laps that you're doing that you're abusing the tires whatsoever. Whether it's the right rear, right front, whatever you're doing, just sliding the car around too much, then you're going to lose that on the back end of your run, and you're really going to pay a big price for it.
It's 150 miles an hour minimum speed through the corners.
Yeah. And these cars are almost harder to drive with the less horsepower, even though they're not getting up to as much of the speed at the end of the straightaway as what the Cup cars are. But you have to keep this momentum because you don't have that to rely on. You can't be out of the gas as long. So you're really having to make more speed through the corners.
So look at this run Elliott Sadler gets on Brian Scott.
Yeah, it looked like something happened to Brian Scott, you know, but that's exactly the way that it plays out. That is so tight right there in making that move. You're just hoping that driver knows that you're coming as fast as what you are.
Second place here, Trevor Baynes 6, Austin Dillon 3. Been spending a little time down in the pack while Kyle Busch does all the leading, but here's a challenge for the runner-up spot.
I tell you, that's a nice pass on the bottom side of the racetrack without the momentum, so that tells me Austin Dillon's car is handling well.
Well, we've seen in his 2 years or almost 2 years now of Nationwide Series, on these rougher racetracks, Austin Dillon has a really good feel for his race car and does it really well.
Yeah, this really illustrates how much these tires drop off in speed by putting laps on them, and it's really just a product of the racing surface. It's very abrasive. It hasn't been paved since, I think, 1997.
Correct.
And so you've got, a very abrasive surface that wears these tires out, and they give up a lot of speed, and I think that's one of the things that element that it adds to the race that makes it so much better. We'll see that big time tomorrow night.
Some of the championship factors here in the picture. 7, Regan Smith. 12, Sam Hornish. Of course, Hornish leading the championship coming in. Regan Smith had a tough race in Bristol last week and lost a little bit of ground and is to try to make it up. And to do that, he's going to have to run consistently in the top 5.
Yeah, he's going to have to be in front of this car or whoever that may be, the 3 car, whoever's going to be leading. He's going to have to gain points on a weekly basis.
Yep. Challenging for 3rd place here.
I think this benefits, the schedule is going to benefit this 7 car, Regan Smith. This is a driver I think is really good on these bigger racetracks. Does a nice job of handling his race car, keeping himself out of trouble for the most part, and getting the most out of the car at the end of the day or night in this case. And I think this would be his opportunity with 7 of the 10 being on 1.5 mile tracks.
Yeah, the first race he ran in this car for this team was at Homestead last year and brought home the trophy from that one. And that's a track very similar to this one, at least in the way the surface is and the way that you have to really race all over it. He does a good job searching for grip.
And that's the interesting part about this track. You've got to find a way to get around him. He had to work hard to just get underneath Bain, and can he slide up in front of him and seal off the deal? He does. Joey Logano really hasn't moved up much since he started in 16th place. Well, I expected more.
Well, he didn't at first, but I think right now what you're seeing is his car's really coming around. He didn't abuse his tires like we talked about in the early part of the run, knowing that he was going to be able to pass these cars a lot easier at the end of the run when these tires do give up grip. He's definitely making his way forward now. You can see like he might get 2 this lap.
Yeah, boy, this car's really handling nicely for Joey. Yeah, no, he's working hard, but you can tell just the difference of him being able to carry speed, roll the corner, and pick the throttle back up, and carry a lot of speed off the corners, both 2 and 4, to get the maximum speed at the end of these straightaways.
Yeah, one of the things I heard Joey say that they didn't qualify well because they hit the splitter too hard. And so that's always a problem to figure out for the crew chiefs. How fast are these cars going to run? Because the faster they run, the harder that splitter is going to hit. I think that they have set this car up for when the tires fall off, when the speeds do fall off, that their splitter probably hits in the beginning of the run, but now it's starting to come around as we see the lap times for everybody start falling off.
Goes back to Kyle Busch's comments when he talked to Vince before the race on Countdown. Long run car, short run car, which one are you going to need at the end of this race? Yep. If only it were that easy to know. You crew chiefs would have an easy job. Kyle Busch doing all the leading early on tonight in Atlanta. A little race for the lead beginning to shape up that we can watch as well here at Atlanta tonight. Kyle Busch has led all of the laps so far after starting on pole position. Austin Dillon fell a little bit behind, but now over these last several laps, he's eating into that lead that the 54 has, and eating in significantly.
There's another guy on the move, Kevin Harvick, that's 33.
5th place there.
We're just way off right now. Well, we're just taking care of it. I think the 54 is the only car ahead of you, and maybe the 3 that's any better. Everybody else is about losing it off the corner there. It fixed up.
Well, if he does get it fixed, he's going to be fast. He's already up to 5th.
Really?
These drivers are hard to please sometimes.
They are.
Hear that little lift off the gas pedal there coming up off the corner. That's not what you want, Jamie.
No, it's not, and you can guess there, he's very loose. He said so since the start of the race, which is interesting because you hear a lot of these drivers up and down pit road saying how tight they are. So Kevin wanting an adjustment. And just to add to the 33, all teams were watching him in practice saying he was in a league of his own, so just wait until he gets to the 54. So let's keep our eyes on him.
Now, Kevin dominated this race a year ago, but got passed on the last lap by Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, this is a track that Harvick's got something in his driving style that really does play well here at Atlanta. And you see how he works the very, very bottom of the racetrack. And I don't know how he does it, but he gets his car to really work down there, even when other guys are chasing grip up on the top.
Yeah, he does it throughout a run. We talk about how much grip these tires lose, but he's able to, most of the time you're down there for an extended period of time, you really wear the tires, especially the front tires, and you start losing grip there. But Harvick's able to manage this car and do that. He doesn't lose a lot of speed, and we've seen him over the years just be the car and the driver to beat at this racetrack, especially in the Nationwide Series.
And I'll echo what Jamie said in her update a second ago, that a lot of folks in the garage were talking 33 when it came to potential winners tonight. First green flag pit stops by Alex Bowman, Jamie.
Well, it's not because he's trying to mix up the strategy, Alan. Unfortunately, it's an engine issue. You see all that smoke come out. the hood going up. He just turned the engine off. Things aren't looking good for the 99, Alan.
Wow, that's tough luck.
Yeah, that team started off the season really well, and Alex Bowman does a nice job driving the car, but they just haven't had a lot of good things to happen recently. I know they're on a lower budget, and sometimes that creates issues, but they work hard. He works hard behind the wheel, but they haven't had a lot of good success lately.
Yeah, we hadn't mentioned much about it, but this is a mile-and-a-half racetrack that is hard on engines. A lot of RPMs. You see they carry 150 miles an hour minimum speed through the corner, so that works the engine pretty hard.
See, Kyle Busch has stabilized that lead over Austin Dillon just a bit. Now Regan Smith in third, trying to close in on the top two. There's Smith in that red number 7.
We talk about managing these tires, Dale, and we're at lap 36. At what point do you start running the car as hard as it'll go and get the most out of it?
Got a caution, got one spun on the back straightaway. 23, Robert Richardson.
Well, they'll get new ones now.
Yes. So you're glad you didn't have to start this.
Start rolling on the bottom.
Robert had some problems on the pace laps getting away from pit road. Had to back into his pit stall and get some attention from his crew. He did make the start, but now he is the reason for the first caution that comes out just after the 50-mile mark.
Yeah, back end just jumps out from under him.
Yeah, he's right down there on the bottom of the track. Hits the
pretty
wall.
significantly hit.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell there was a ton of damage watching his car go around there, but I'm sure it's just pushed everything back and down.
Yeah, right side of that spoiler's dragging the splitter on the front's dragging the ground, isn't it? All right, well, pit road's going to be open here. Strategy calls will be pretty easy tonight where numbers of tires are concerned.
In this situation, is for sure they're all going to get 4 tires. I talked to them. They said 25 laps was one of those points they didn't want to see one, but they're past that now.
So even up on strategy, let's see what the pit crews do head-to-head, Mike.
And Regan Smith has been saying he's been tight in traffic, although they're not going to loosen the car up because they feel like the track's going to get looser as the night wears on. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments on the 7, Jamie.
Kevin Harvick up 15 positions, said it's too loose. Wedge adjustment, air pressure, track bar down for the 33. Dave?
The 3 of Austin Dillon gives up second place. His car was just a little bit loose on the exit. He needs forward drive, 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment. Kyle Busch will get a chassis adjustment for a car that had a hint of tight to start and tightened up as the race run went on. He will win the race off pit road now.
Barely, but great stops by Dillon and Smith's teams, down under 13 seconds.
I thought Dillon might be able to get the lead off pit road, but Kyle Busch having that pit stall, I believe, paid off for him.
There's the scoring line. By that much, Kyle Busch hangs on to the race lead. Half a lap from the restart here at Atlanta Motor Speedway after the first caution of the race. The new Goodyear tire just got its first workout in racing conditions. Dave?
You see those standing up on the right there. Those came off of Kyle Busch's car. They look wonderful. The tire specialist who worked on the right sides, which are the ones at the top of the screen you saw there, he said they looked great. They have radioed to their guys on the track, and they've said everything we see back here looks really good. So far, a thumbs up on the new right side tire.
You see the Goodyear engineers doing as they always do, up and down through the pit boxes, conferring with all the race teams.
Now, I did see one tire there that had just a little bit of spot on it. This track is really tough on these tires. I think Goodyear's done a great job with this new compound, this new multiple compound, but this track's still challenging.
Kyle Busch, the race leader, black 54, choosing the outside lane for the restart. Austin Dillon on the bottom, into 3. Is he going to get the lead?
I wondered about that lane choice for Kyle Busch. He'd been running the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, I think he's just maybe experimenting a little here early on, just in case for later. But it really surprised me because I think the second guy is always at such a disadvantage here because it's so easy to spin the tires. He might make this work and get the lead back before he gets to the line.
You see him gas that thing up in the center of the corner like that?
Oh, he did.
Wow.
You see Austin Dillon fighting hard down on the bottom. He's got those new tires, and this is the time that bottom lane will work good. We'll see if he can hold him off.
Have to be careful right here in trying to get too much, because this is exactly what we're talking about. You can run these things hard, but you're going to pay the price later in a run. But he's wanting to get that bonus point for leading the lap. He didn't get it last lap.
No, he'll get it now.
Yep.
That's well earned, too.
Did lead that one, still outside.
That's Andy Houston, spotter for Austin Dillon.
You can see Kyle Busch just almost rubbing the right rear quarter panel on the wall there on the exit of turn 2.
Regan Smith 7, Trevor Baynes 6, third place. Smith is through, watching these front two side by side for a third straight lap. Trouble, Casey Kane.
See, Nelson Piquet got into Travis Pastrana a little bit too, trying to avoid Casey. A little damage on the right rear, Nelson Piquet's 30 car.
Second caution of the race, Casey running 9th at the time. And now has a car full of smoke.
Cars look up over there, Kevin.
And these low air pressures and things, it makes these things, we talk about being a handful to start with, but they really are.
Yeah, you see, it's Casey Kane, and he's up in the middle of the racetrack. I think just breaks loose.
Yeah, he's on one of those seams there. You can see the left side tires, and that could have just been the left rear losing the traction, because you can see those, both the left side tires were in one of those seams.
Look at it inside the car. I bet Casey had his hands full right here.
Lock it down, lock it down. Hold the brake, hold the brake.
That's how you spin a car out at 150 miles an hour, not hitting.
Not hit anything, yeah. That's especially being up where he was. That car generally wants to go right up to the wall. But you could hear Casey in there gas it up and to get the car turned and driving back down the racetrack and keep it off the wall.
And then the Pastrana-Piquet contact you talked about, Andy.
Yeah, I thought Piquet was going to actually hit Casey in the door, and he does a good job to avoid him, but he gets up into Pastrana a little bit with his right rear. I don't know if Travis has got any damage to his left front fender.
Yeah, got hit a couple of times there, so could affect the handling of his race car.
You can definitely see the damage on the 30 car, though, on that right rear.
But Piquet had nothing else to do. He had to, he was fortunate he had enough room there to make that evasive move.
And now, Vince, another set of tires going on that 5 car.
Well, that's exactly right. And when you got to take care of the tires, you hate to put another set on this soon, but just way too loose after those initial adjustments for Casey Kane. He said the car was loose and he still was putting a lot of wheel in it, so he did not feel that the balance was right. So making a pretty significant adjustment again on the car this time for Casey Kane.
Yeah, that's definitely not the way you want to use one of those sets of tires. And you know, these other leaders stayed out. They would have pitted. If they had unlimited sets, they would probably pit right now and get tires. That's just how important they are here. See, that green flag is out at the end of pit road and nobody coming. Looks like PK might come work on that damage.
Yep, get that fender attended to. Invite you to check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy for live race coverage tonight from Atlanta with 10 HD live race views, live chat, and live leaderboard. NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. Dick's Sporting Goods kickoff week continues Monday night with a good one from Heinz Field. The Panthers make their ACC debut against Jimbo Fisher's Seminoles. Number 11, Florida State against Pittsburgh. Monday night at 8 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN.
Is that really fair to Pittsburgh? They're going in the ACC like that?
Yeah. Well, I guess they'll learn what a lot of the rest of the conference is known for, what, a couple decades now? Yeah. Doubled up for the restart here in Atlanta. Drive it like you mean it, brought to you by Carl's Jr. and Hardee's. Kevin Harvick been driving like he means to win. No doubt about that. So after choosing the outside lane last time by for the last restart, the roles will be reversed this time with Kyle Busch on the inside and Austin Dillon on the outside.
I don't think that worked exactly how he had it planned. He was able to keep the lead most of the time. But
he had to work for it, though.
Yes, he did.
Austin Dillon starting this night, only 6 points behind Sam Hornish Jr. in the NASCAR Nationwide Series Championship. Sam running well, but back in 8th position as you look at the restart order coming by.
And this is when it's really hard as a driver not to spin the tires. You're anticipating that start, but now that they've got a little heat in and some laps on, and this front straightaway is so flat, makes it difficult to anticipate. Try to keep up with the driver that's in charge of this, which is Kyle Busch this time.
Boy, you can see it right there. Austin Dillon definitely spun the tire. Getting a little help from Trevor Bayne. Smith really driving down on the door of Austin Dillon. That's a risky move. If Austin Dillon gets out of shape, he can take them both out.
7, Smith, Dillon 3, and Kevin Harvick in the 33, closing in.
Yeah, right there's when you can get yourself in real trouble getting down on the quarter panel like that. In the corner where the car's already loose, entering turn 3. And he's doing it, trying to get that advantage to slow the 3 down. You can see it may somewhat work, but I think he's got Mr. Dillon all riled up inside there.
Well, that's what I was thinking, too, by that little dodge to the right on the front stretch there.
Yeah, I think Regan Smith got the message, too.
Okay, nice and smooth.
Save those tires. How many times did the driver hear that in the course of a run tonight?
Yeah, and Kevin Harvick sitting there watching that thing. Okay, you two young guys go ahead and wear your tires out. I'll pass you here in a few laps.
43, Michael Annett. 16, Chris Buescher. 11, Elliott Sadler. This fight for 12th, 13th, and 14th, and Sadler just scuffed it up.
He definitely gets up against it. He's been fighting that car all night. Looks like it's been tight.
Yeah, and they had a lot of high hopes after a test that he and Vickers did. You heard him talk about it in the pre-race show, that really felt like that they had found some things that were going to be a great benefit to he and Brian Vickers in trying to win this championship.
Big trouble, big trouble.
He restarted 9th, and he's already back to 16th and falling.
Here goes Harvick.
3rd place.
I'll tell you, I found one thing about this racetrack. It's not like other mile-and-a-halves. And I wouldn't necessarily take things I learned somewhere like at Charlotte or Texas or any of them really and think that they would work here, because this track is all to itself. It's bumpy, no grip. It's just a different place. And I don't think, you know, sometimes you can fool yourself when you think you've learned something somewhere else and try to bring it here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people tried to work on speed and get the most speed. Kevin Harvick didn't have a great qualifying lap today. He wasn't concerned about that. He knew what he had with this race car for the race and what it was going to do when he needed it to do it. And you can see that showing up as he's worked his way up to 3rd. Great battle here.
Harvick started back in 20th. Brian Vickers, you're looking ahead at that yellow car. Justin Allgaier, 31, trying to follow him underneath. Parker Kligerman in the 77.
Well, we talk about all these things and how difficult it is. It really is a fun racetrack to drive with a car that's pretty good. Now, if you got Elliott Sadler's car right now, it's not any fun whatsoever. But these other cars that are driving pretty good, it's a lot of fun to the challenge that it presents to get your way around here and pass cars and just have a good time.
That first time you go off into the corner, you've been running the low line, and now you're going to try the high line. You hold your breath for just a second?
Yeah, hold your breath and hold the steering wheel a little tighter, too, because you're just not sure. And that's not going to be your fastest, so you keep working up to that. But you just can't go do it the first time because you're trying to figure out how hard you can go in there and how much grip that top has.
Riding with Casey Kane, trying to recover from that spin a little bit ago, Vince.
Well, a little bit of good news for Kane because they only had 4 laps on those tires prior to the spin. They appealed to NASCAR. NASCAR allowed them an additional set of tires. So Kane will not be losing that set, if you will. He will get a set to replace those tires that they had to take off after that spin because they only had 4 laps on them.
Boy, that makes a huge difference because now he's got better tires than everybody on the racetrack, so he can make up some of the ground he lost, and he didn't lose that set out of his allotment.
There's the key. If you're going to spin early.
And don't hit anything.
Yeah, that's right. 29th to 12th from the restart for Casey Kane. There's the gap. Joey Logano up to Kyle Busch. What has been the summer rivalry of 2013 in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. In this particular chapter being dominated by Kyle Busch. Live at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the NASCAR Nationwide Series running 300 miles tonight, and with nothing crazy happening, the picture of this race has completely changed in the last couple of minutes. Kevin Harvick was well behind Kyle Busch in 5th place, ran him, wouldn't we just saying, you know, and ran him down and passed him and left him, all in the space of about 7-8 laps.
And his teammate Austin Dillon was able to take 2nd place away from Kyle Busch.
And then Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch encountered some traffic, and watch this going into turn 3. Hello.
Yeah, I don't know if Tony Raines knew which way to go.
He held his line, which was probably good.
He's a veteran.
And now that 54 car really seems to be struggling. Joey Logano going by Kyle Busch for 3rd, Dave.
Alan, you'll recall in the first run, his car was a little bit tight. They made a chassis adjustment to try to correct that. They did not get that, and then according to Kyle, they lost all the consistency in the rear of the car. So crew chief Adam Stevens will have to go to work on what to do next to try to help Kyle the next time they pit.
Yeah, you really have to be careful in freeing the car up here, Andy, because you can get it off a lot worse than what you thought you had with a tight car.
Yeah, I've always found that if you have a car that's fairly tight, you can make good speed with it, and you're going to be if you ever teeter over that balance to go loose, you can't go anywhere.
Rusty Wallace watching this as well. Got a thought there, R-Dub?
Yeah, I really do, Alan. I'm watching Kyle Busch. I've watched him a lot my whole entire career, and he's probably one of the very best at driving a very, very loose race car and running fast like that. But it's like the guys were saying, I think Andy was about to hit on it. At this particular racetrack, it's so hard on the tires, guys. If you drive the truck car a little bit too loose, what happens is it just wears the tires out, and the driver just can't go forward. And that's exactly what's happening to Kyle Busch right now. He's lost his forward traction. The car's slipping or sliding a little bit. And if you look at Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick leading this race, these guys are pretty hooked up. They're not loose. You cannot drive a loose car at this track, just like I said, because it wears the rear tires off. And that's what I noticed with that, with the 54 here.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rusty. And I was going to say what I think makes Harvick so good here. We watch him lap after lap have that left front tire down on that yellow line where we talked about earlier that you can really make the car turn there. And Harvick gets his car tight enough to drive it off the corner, have that forward bite that you need, but uses that bottom to turn his race car. And you can see that the 3 car of Austin Dillon doing a lot the same thing. And I'm sure that he's watched Harvick and talked to him about that. And I think that's what helps him. And you're exactly right. Loose race car here, you're only going to go slower.
Here comes Kyle Larson, that 32 car. He's bearing down on Kyle Busch. I expected Kyle Larson to run good here because this is one of those racetracks, like you say, without a lot of grip that you really have to wheel it. He's so good at that. He's done so much of the dirt racing and different cars that I think that this kind of a thing will suit his style. We're seeing him now start to come to the front even before halfway, which is usually where he starts making his run.
One of those tracks Kyle Larson's not been on yet in his NASCAR stock car career. Of course, yesterday, the big announcement here, Kyle will be the driver, taking over that Target 42 car for Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series next year. Everybody's got an opinion. Are you rushing him along too soon? Is now the right time? What's your opinion?
I think it's the right time. I'm a big fan of this guy. I think he's got a lot of talent, and I think he's going to really shine in those cars with more horsepower. We've seen a lot of good race car drivers like Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, not really make a lot of noise in the Nationwide Series, but when they get to the Cup Series with the different style of racing, they do well. I expect to see the same thing with Kyle Larson.
Yeah, I do too. As you can see, the battle for second here tightening up with Logano catching Austin Dillon, try to take that spot away. And I agree. I think that Kyle Larson is ready for that. I think that another year of racing in the Nationwide Series, it's not going to do him. He already knows how to win races and things. Now, maybe he doesn't know how to win yet in these stock cars, but he'll learn that. And I think that he's going to do very well. As we've seen people like Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, not have the greatest careers in winning a lot of races in this Nationwide Series, but you get them in those high horsepower cars that are really, really difficult to drive everywhere you go, and that talent comes through, and they win races, and a lot of them.
One more thought on Kyle Larson. One thing he's done this year, I've seen him race with all these great race car drivers like Jimmy Johnson and Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski. He's not intimidated by them at all on the racetrack, and I think that'll serve him well too.
Well, Larson is going to probably get to run a couple of Sprint Cup races before this season's out, and he's going to run some Nationwide Series races next year, Chip Ganassi said the other day. How about the race for the 32 so far, Mike? He's fifth.
Well, so far so good. I want to add to what you guys were talking about. Now, obviously, a lot of us have opinions on whether or not he's ready to go to the Cup Series level. Well, perhaps nobody's opinion's more qualified than the crew chief he's been working with in the Nationwide Series. I talked with Trent Owens at length a couple of weeks ago in Mid-Ohio, and he said, I think he is absolutely ready to make that jump just based upon what he's seen out of him throughout the course of the year, how he adjusts to these racetracks, and how he adapts so quickly. As far as adapting tonight, he's done pretty good. The evening started off a little bit tight. Then as it got cooler, the racetrack became a little bit more loose, and it seems like that's to his liking. At this point, he's driving really well and toward the front.
So the young 21-year-old in fifth position on what has turned into a very big weekend in his racing career to this point. Up front, it's Kevin Harvick now dominating. Kyle Busch dominated the first part of the race, but Harvick has gone past him since that last restart and left him, though that 22 of Logano starting to creep in. Beautiful night in Atlanta for the Great Clips Grid Chips 300 NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Ongoing, approaching a point where we'll begin to see some green flag pit stops in just a little while. First, to note that ESPN2 has a special Labor Day weekend edition of Sunday Night Baseball tomorrow. The Mets and Nationals try to keep their wild card hopes alive in a divisional matchup. Mets and Nats tomorrow on ESPN2, also live on Watch ESPN. Beautiful night to be out at the racetrack, still 82 degrees, as Kevin Harvick continues to lead this race out in front of Joey Logano by 2.2 seconds. Here's the gap from 33 back to 22.
You see that 22 car just a little wiggle in the back, but he's making up some time, about a 10th and a half a lap on Harvick.
Trying to close in. Austin Dillon now back to third after being passed by Logano, and you see the gap. Dillon has faded quite a bit. Kyle Busch fourth. Kyle Larson fifth. We go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance, beginning with our sixth place runner and beginning with Mike.
Alan, just prior to that last pit stop, Regan Smith had radioed in saying he was a little bit tight, but was worried about freeing the car up because as the track cools, he felt like the track will get much looser. Well, that has not necessarily been the case. Throughout the course of this run, Smith has radioed back in saying the car's not only tight, it's worse than it was before. He's not happy with the way it's handling, Vince.
Well, and behind Regan Smith is the championship leader, Sam Hornish. Came into this race with a 6-point lead. It's now down to 1. They are encouraged by the lap times deep into the run for Hornish, but Sam says it's just too free off, and he doesn't have the drive off that he needs. Dave?
4 straight top 10s for Trevor Bayne have made midseason a good time for him. They'd like to keep that alive tonight, but right now the car is just a little bit too tight. He says, I'm really having to wait in the middle of a turn before I apply the throttle, Vince.
Well, and Casey Kane in that 5. One more race to go. He'll run at Richmond, and then he'll be done with his nationwide schedule. So this team really wants to get a win for Casey. It's been an adventure so far. He spun early, flat spotted those 4 tires. They did get a fresh set, and Casey said the car is handling much better. Jamie?
And Travis Pastrana just cracked the top 10. The weekend has gone well. In fact, Carl Edwards got in his race car in final practice this morning just to verify what Travis was feeling. And Travis was spot on. Carl turned 2 laps in it and said the car was really good. So Travis focusing on the prize tonight, but he's also thinking about his wife, Lindsay, at home, due with their first baby in 3 days. Mike?
Brian Vickers crew chief Kevin Kidd says there's 2 things that make him good at this racetrack. 1, car control, but 2, perhaps the bigger issue, his demeanor. He doesn't get too emotional about things. So as the track has changed, his emotions have not spiked. He's been very even keel. The car started off good, has gotten a bit loose, but he likes it that way, Vince.
And how about the youngster, Chris Buescher, just 20 years old, his 6th race of the season, his first race since Michigan in June where he finished 7th. It's a solid run for him so far. You see he's up to 12th, but he said it's gone from snug to too tight. They're going to work on it next time they stop. Jamie?
And Elliott Sadler has had a handful tonight. He slipped all the way back to 20th, saying the car is so loose he can barely hold the steering wheel. He wants to go all the way back on those changes they made on the last stop, the way they started this race. He said he just can barely hang on. And we're starting pit stops down here. Let's go back upstairs to Alan.
Expect the green flag stops to begin momentarily. Joey Logano's been into the wall.
Took that right front's down. I don't know if that happened before or after he got in the wall.
There's your answer.
Yep.
Right front. Stay inside. Inside. Come on down. Come on down. We got a right front down.
Pretty good lick, too.
Yeah, lucky.
Wow.
Almost got hit from behind right there.
Yeah. So, 22 team leading the team standings in the Nationwide Series. Got some early trouble in Atlanta. Back live at Atlanta as the leader Kevin Harvick comes onto pit road for a green flag stop. Harvick headed all the way down to the attention of his crew, trying not to get a pit road speeding penalty, Jamie.
Well, you can imagine he's pretty happy with the race car. He said just slightly loose. They said, well, since we have a 5-second lead, let's take some wedge out and make an air pressure adjustment. You see the chassis adjustment there. 4 tires for Kevin Harvick. He's won in all 3 series here, Dave.
Austin Dillon spent most of that run in 3rd place. His biggest complaint, loose off of turn 2. It'll be an air pressure adjustment that's already been made to one of the 4 tires, or at least one of the 4 tires that they're putting on this 3-car, Vince.
The championship leader, Sam Hornish, getting 4 fresh Goodyears and a turn a wedge to help that car on its drive off issue. Just a little bit too free off. Mike?
And Kyle Larson on pit road now. He had been running pretty consistently inside the top 10 throughout the course of the evening, looking for a breakout performance here tonight. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments on the 32 car. Kyle Larson very happy with the car so far tonight, Jim.
And this is the team's opportunity to make this car better. Elliott Sadler has had a handful, could barely touch the wheel. He was so loose. As you see, the 54, Kyle Busch on pit road as well. They're going back on the changes they made last time for Elliott Sadler. You see it there, the wedge adjustment. 4 tires, they'll fill them up with Sunoco fuel. Vince?
The 5 car of Casey Kane handling much better, but they still feel like it's not quite where they wanted. It's not good enough to challenge for the win. They're going to go down a half round on the track bar. Also make an air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for Kane. Dave?
Kyle's been wondering out loud how a car that was so tight up top is now spinning out loose up there. He gets a track bar adjustment, air pressure adjustment, spring rubber pulled from the left rear, or probably pushed in to help tighten up that race car. Mike?
Regan Smith has been fighting tight throughout the course of the evening. They are going to make adjustment this time around. They'll make a wedge adjustment, taking a round out on the left side. 4 tires and Sunoco race fuel for Regan Smith as they try to free him up just a little bit. Working now on the right side of that car. You can see the adjustment. The wrench is out. Car's off the jack and away.
Regan stayed out a long time to let everybody cycle through so he could get that bonus point for the championship by leading the lap.
That can cost you a lot of track time, though. Let these other cars run laps on fresh tires.
Yeah. So, 33 car is your leader, Kevin Harvick. And as this cycle of pit stops has wound its way out, guess who's back running second? Joey Logano in the 22. There he is.
Yeah, he blew that right front. He got in the wall pretty hard, but it made him one of the first cars to come down and get fresh tires, and he's used that the time that he's been on these tires to make up ground. And evidently his car's not hurt, so he's able to run fast lap time.
Well, he's 7.4 seconds behind Kevin Harvick. He was about 3 seconds behind when he had the problem with the tire going down and made the pit stop. So that's all kind of swung back in his favor. Not bad. Austin Dillon there in the 3, trying to work on Logano for second.
Yeah, for now. You'll see this 22, though. He's got about, what, 7, 8 9 laps more on his tires than the other car, so he'll give up a little bit of this distance that he gained in the later part of this run. But pretty good recovery.
An update from the Penske pits and Jamie.
Of course, Joey Logano, you're looking at that tire, the right front that came off of his car, wanting to know if there was a puncture or what had happened. So he knows. He's trying to take care of the right front and didn't understand what went wrong. Well, the team told him it's a ply separation there. You can see it separated on the inside tire wall. So they're keeping an eye on that. Meanwhile, though, they really feel like they have a car that can win this race tonight, so they keep digging.
Yeah, I'm looking at that tread rubber of that tire. That's where you see Goodyear has changed that compound a little bit, and I don't see any cords or anything that shows me that that tire wore out and caused it to blow out. So I'm thinking that's what they're looking for, is maybe a sidewall rub or something like that that may have caused that.
Well, he's been the only one to have problems so far and has recovered nicely from it. Just across halfway tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Kyle Busch dominated early. Kevin Harvick's dominating the middle stages of this race, seeking his second Nationwide Series win at this track. At the Atlanta Motor Speedway, caution is out in tonight's 300-mile race just past midway for debris on the back straightaway. Third yellow flag of the race. We talked about earlier at a track where tire wear is critical for speed and the number of sets of tires you're allowed to change is limited by NASCAR rule. Here's where the crew chief's got to earn his money.
Yeah, I talked to someone down there today, and this is right that critical time where they don't want to have to make this decision because they need tires. The cars would run so much faster right now if they had tires, but they don't want to use them because they need them at the end.
Pit road's open here.
Well, I saw a few of them wanting to come down through there. Can't afford to now, though.
Yeah, every one of them that started to bobby and weaved back out.
That driver, you have to fight that steering wheel not to go down the pit road right there.
Parker, Kligerman, Elliott, Sadler, the only two to come onto the pit lane of the lead lap cars. Brad Keselowski checking out his teammate Joey Logano's troubled tire from earlier.
Welcome back to the Great Clips Grit Chips 300. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all of your latest NASCAR information. Working our third caution of the evening at Atlanta Motor Speedway as we welcome you back from inside the Quicken Loans ESPN pit studio. We get a chance to revisit one of the stories we talked about in Countdown, and that is that very tight Owners' Championship, the battle between the 22 and the 54, but so far tonight, a challenging night for both the cars involved.
Yeah, it really is. Kyle Busch's car seems to be real loose right now, and he's just falling back to the pack. He went back to 7th place right now and seems to be struggling with the car.
Yeah, he really is. He led 57 laps, really having a tough time. And then later on as the race went on, Joey Logano, as we saw, finally got up there challenging Kyle. Going into the corner, right front tire goes down. Fortunately, Joey felt it, called it, didn't do too much damage to the car, came down pit road, got those right side tires, and the car's still pretty darn good.
Logano currently in 3rd, Kyle Busch currently in 7th, and as they run right now, the Owners' Championship, just 18 points between them. Alan?
And still going to be a fascinating story to follow as we go throughout this autumn stretch of races. Nicole, what a summer rivalry it's become between Joe Gibbs Racing and Penske Racing in this Nationwide Series. So doubled up for the restart. Look at the restart order for you. And information that Michael Annett was the free pass car at this yellow flag, and he's back on the lead lap in 18th place. Kevin Harvick choosing the inside lane.
Austin Dillon really struggling on these restarts.
I think drivers that have been here for 20 years would tell you that it's a struggle every time you go to try to restart.
Whoa, Kyle Larson with his hands full, sliding up into the middle. Kyle Busch to his inside.
Kyle Larson really running that high line.
Yeah, you can really make that work, and it looks like he's got his car set up to do that more. We haven't seen many of these Nationwide drivers go up there. It's actually a little easier on the tires if you can be up there.
If you can hang on to it.
No, he is right now.
He's fighting it.
That started way back in the middle of the corner for him. When he tried to set the car into the corner, you saw that back end bobbing around.
He's still in the gas. Look at him. Gets this big run off turn 2. I think he's a little better over in 1 and 2 than he is in 3 and 4.
And you'll see it. We'll see tomorrow night that a lot of the Cup drivers, we saw it in practice earlier, that they would run the top in turns 1 and 2 back down to the bottom in 3 and 4, where we see Kyle Busch and Casey Kane right now.
Regan Smith 7, Kyle Busch 54. That's for 5th, 6th, 7th, and more.
See Kyle Busch really get loose on the bottom.
Yeah, and up in front of him, I was watching Trevor Bayne in that 6, really sliding his car off the corner also.
So you're Austin Dillon in that 3, and you've had a chance to start outside the leader twice now, and both times it hasn't worked out very well. You've had trouble hooking it up. What do you think? Are you actually thinking about that now toward the end of the race?
He will be the next time. Right now, as he's driving, these things are such a handful that you've forgotten about that. But you're a little aggravated still that you haven't figured it out. But he'll hopefully figure something out and realize exactly what's causing that, as we see Kyle Larson once again have to give up some ground there on the exit of turn 2.
I see him experimenting with his line. He tried low in 3 and 4. It seemed to work better for him. But I think he's better on the high side in 1 and 2. It looks like he tried the bottom. Didn't find that to work well.
So Kyle Busch, who dominated the first third of this race, still finds himself back in 6th, Dave.
And still looking for his first win of the Nationwide Series here, AB. He's got a win in Sprint Cup. He's got 4 wins in the trucks, but has never won here in the Nationwide Series, and it's not going well for him now. We talked the last run about how cars around him taking his line away made his car tough to handle. And you see Casey Kane moving in on him now. He's still not got a car that in traffic will maneuver for him.
Got the wall right there.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. Riding along with him.
See how much damage he did. You can see that right rear, both right side tires actually. Oh boy, he hit it pretty good.
Yeah, it's just went into a 4-wheel drift there. We heard him say earlier that he just didn't have the back end under the car, and after some adjustments they made.
Well, you can hear Casey lift just for a second.
I would say it concerned you when that guy bounces off the wall in front of you. You see all those sparks?
A little safety lift.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, he's good. Whoa.
That's a nice move right there. That looked a little more like as we ride with Kevin Harvick and what his car, the way that he makes his car stay down around that, using that yellow line to get his car turned with a tight race car. Then he can drive it straighter off the corner and get the speed that you need, and he was able to do that, make the pass on Regan Smith.
So Kyle back up to 5th place. Well, Kevin,
He'll adjust on
adjustment there.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick's lead on Joey Logano is that.
Yeah, I'm impressed, but this 22's done. They hit the wall with a tire going down. They pitted about 7 or 8, 9 laps sooner than the other cars. And he's been out here for the last few laps running lap times just as competitive as the leader, and actually at times even faster than the leader. I'm really impressed. That, you know, they can take a car that hit the wall as hard as it did and turn it around like this.
So Joey Logano running 2nd, seeking his 3rd win of the season, while Kyle Busch seeks another spot, that one on Austin Dillon for 3rd place. Did he really adjust that 54 car and make it come alive?
Didn't hurt it any. Maybe he saw Logano adjust his. He tried the same thing.
Trevor Bayne in the mix for this spot, also in the 6.
You can see Kyle just can't drive that car up. He got put up in the 2nd lane there, and he just can't drive it up there. He's going to have to get back to the bottom.
Kevin Harvick leads. Still a lot of racing left to do tonight in Atlanta. The very full weekend of motorsports on the ESPN networks this Labor Day weekend includes the biggest drag race of the year, the Chevy Performance NHRA U.S. Nationals from Indianapolis. See qualifying at 1 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2, and the final eliminations at noon Eastern on Monday here on ESPN2. Also this weekend, the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Baltimore, noon Eastern tomorrow on ABC. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from here in Atlanta, telecast presented by Pennzoil, 7 Eastern tomorrow night on ESPN. And next weekend's Nationwide Series race is at the Action Track in Richmond, Friday night, 7 Eastern. ESPN, part of a full afternoon and evenings motorsports coverage from Richmond as well on the ESPN networks, including Sprint Cup practice, Nationwide and Sprint Cup qualifying, and the Nationwide Series race. Did I miss anything?
Didn't sound like it. Oh, yeah, you did. You did say the race, though.
I did, yeah.
So we got it right.
Casey Kane moving up a spot, picking up 6th place on Regan Smith. Wow, look at the gap he puts there. Yeah, we're talking about Kyle Busch and his car perhaps recovering a little bit after that tap on the wall. Watch as Kyle took 3rd spot from Trevor Bayne a little bit ago from this angle. We saw it originally, but watch these couple of angles, and what a handful Bayne had in that 6.
That's impressive right there. Good recovery.
Yeah, when we show up from behind, it's going to be even more so when you see how far right Trevor Bayne had this 6-car turn.
Wow, look at that left front tire. Look at him, solid wheel.
Wow. At 180.
That's fun, I think.
It is whenever you're still going. Yes.
So Bayne running in 4th position. And Davies had his hands visibly full at times.
But the car is really not that bad, and they got some track position during that green flag run. Listen.
I've tried to pitch you a lap or two early there to try and get you some track position. It worked out well, and your lap time stayed good with even some of the, like Harvick pitted late. Your lap times were better than all those guys still. Yeah, I think your car's pretty good there. It's a really good call, man.
He pitted 4 laps earlier than Harvick, 6 laps earlier than Kyle Busch, and that pitting early got him some positions. He was running back 7th or 8th. He's now stayed between 3rd and 4th most of this run.
Mike Kelly plotting out the next bit of strategy.
Well, I tell you what, there's nothing better as a driver to have a crew chief on there thinking for you to help you as much as he can, knowing the difficulty of a place like this, and that's exactly what Mike Kelly did for his young driver.
Yeah, the calculation is if I pit him soon, I'm going to have a few laps that I'm going to be able to run faster than the other guys, but then how much you're going to give up on the other end of the run, and now they're seeing they're not giving up that much. So it was just a gain, and I think Mike Kelly learned something from it. I know a lot of other crew chiefs are watching too.
So the next time one of these leaders makes a break for the pit lane,
you might see an onslaught.
Yeah. And probably won't be all that long till we see that next rush onto the pit lane, which might make fuel to the finish an interesting discussion, depending on how the caution flags fly. We'll keep track of it, while Kevin Harvick keeps a grip on the lead here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Back live at Atlanta Motor Speedway with 60 laps to go, and Kevin Harvick in the race lead, 3.5 seconds over Joey Logano, 4.5 seconds over Kyle Busch. Green flag pit stops while the window's opening for some. Travis Pastrana has been on the pit road for a green flag stop, and we're not all that many laps away from seeing Joey Logano have to stop in this 22 car.
Yeah, he made the stop earliest of any of the leaders because that tire blew out. So he's got more laps on his fuel and tires. We expect him to be the one that needs to pit the first. He's trying to get it down where he can make it on fuel before he makes that last stop.
So you remember a little bit ago, Kyle Busch tapped the wall when we were riding on board this 54 car, right? Well, here's a look at it.
See the back end stepping out. Just can't turn the steering wheel.
And since then, that car has come alive.
I don't know what I did aero-wise to tighten it up, but I tightened it up. It's better, way better. Well, thank you.
So Kyle's team, well, they're not the only one to notice this 54 is suddenly running faster.
he says. He said his car's way better now since he hit the wall. He hit it square in the right rear wheel.
Well, here's one thing that happens. They have a certain amount of skew. We've talked about that before, that they can run in these cars, and NASCAR controls it very closely. But when you hit that right rear wheel, it can actually move that rear end a little bit to the left, and what it does, it'll make the car skew out to the right more and hang that right rear of the spoiler. So that is in the right direction. If they would, allowed to do that before the race, they would do it, but obviously they're not. And maybe that crash or that impact with the wall did help it.
I think the bad boy's buggy is okay. I wouldn't be messing with that.
Now, I wouldn't try that same adjustment.
Yeah,
if I was,
Kevin's car, yeah.
That's a pretty appropriate sponsor for him, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
That was lap 92 in this 33 pitted last, Jamie.
Yes, he has that big lead. The car seems to be okay, but it's a tick loose. So he's asking his crew chief, Ernie Cope, to make an adjustment. He said, let's go back on the last wedge adjustment we made. It was better that way. And he said, let's put some air pressure in that right front to tighten you up and get you going quicker that round. So they're still working on the car, even though they've been the class of the field tonight. They're looking at pitting about lap 150.
Another 10 away for Harvick. Logano, we'll see sooner than that, probably in another 2 or 3. Nice recovery from Joey, not with us earlier. Lap 85, running second. Had a right front tire go down, went up and popped the wall, but really managed to slow it down before it hit. Came down the pit road under green, and the race stayed green through an entire cycle of stops, and Logano wound up back in second place.
Just incredible. I can't get over just how well they recovered from that incident.
Yeah, I expect them to fall back outside of the top 5 with all of that, with everything that went on. You'd have to think there's some damage. As much as you work on the aero of these cars, how important it is, we talk about it all the time, these high-speed racetracks, and that just kind of goes against everything we talk about. They can go up there and run that competitive and be that good.
Michael Ridge carrying the front tires for Parker Kligerman, carrying our ESPN Over the Wall camera tonight. If this race stays green, Kligerman has just made his final pit stop. If. There's the gap. First to second. It's a big one.
I think we're just now getting inside the window for this 22 car to make it to the end on fuel. Expect him pretty soon on pit road.
Yeah, it's these last laps of these runs that Harvick just really stretches his lead out on these other cars. Even before Logano had his problems and stuff, Harvick was building big leads. His car just doesn't slow down. It's not wearing the tires. He's able to continue to run these fast laps.
And Elliott Sadler's in, Jamie.
And they've been working on his car, trying to make it better tonight. Loose, loose, loose was the call early. He fell quite a bit back. He's regained some of that position. 4 tire stop here. They'll fill him up with Sunoco fuels. And they have a problem on pit road. A little delayed there. 15 seconds, Dave.
Trevor Benny's in from 4th place. He says, right now my car just needs to turn a little bit better in the short run. The wrench is going in the rear window for a track bar adjustment and 4 tires. Over to the left side, pretty good stop so far. Remember, he pitted a few laps earlier before, but he should be okay to the end on fuel, and he's out of here.
And Dave, a few laps earlier there to maybe gain a little extra speed on fresher tires. Mike Kelly with another strategy move on pit road. Casey Kane is in. Vince?
Kane has made his way into the top 5, and the car has gotten better, but Casey says it's still a little bit too snug to do with it what he wants to do with it. It's going to be a 4-tire change. Crew chief Mike Bumgarner says we got to get it full of Sunoco fuel, giving Casey a tear off, a slight air pressure adjustment, still filling it up, Let's go to Jamie.
Joey Logano making his way down pit road. Their sequence off just a bit from contact earlier. 4 tires here and a wedge adjustment, saying the car gets better on the long runs, just a little bit tight, but Joey's still confident, telling the team, guys, we still have time to win this thing. We're just making it interesting. There was the chassis adjustment. Wait on fuel, fill him up. Let's go to Dave.
Austin Dillon lost 4 positions on that run, so he needs a pretty big adjustment. It'll be a wedge adjustment for a car that was tight in the middle and loose off. That tightness in the middle actually forced the car to be loose exiting the corner. Left rear wedge.
Brian Vickers, Nelson Piquet, Brian Scott, Chris Buescher, and Kyle Busch on the pit lane under the green flag, watching Kevin Harvick to see if he slows here. He's going to stay out another lap, Dave.
And you saw the Goodyear emblems rubbed off the right side there. In addition to the right rear flattening of there, you see Sam Hornish on the right. Kyle Busch said, I'm tight, but I'm good. So there'll be no adjustments on his race car other than fresh rubber. Vince?
The issue for Sam Hornish Jr. has been consistent throughout the course of the night. Drive off. He just can't get it off the corner the way he wants. They made another chassis adjustment and 4 tires.
Regan Smith heading back onto the racetrack also from what could be his final stop. Here's Harvick now. That about everybody else on the lead lap has made their stops. You got to bring him in here.
Even though he had a big lead, you don't want to give up any more of that than what you have to.
So, critical stop here for Kevin Harvick's crew, Jamie.
And as I said, he wants to go back on that wedge adjustment they made last time. He just didn't think that helped them at all. Right front air pressure adjustment was already made. They'll put 4 tires on here. There's the chassis adjustment. Car has been the class of the field. Loose, just a tick loose, has been his call. Kevin Harvick here looking for his 2nd nationwide win at Atlanta.
Relatively smooth stop. Get back on the racetrack without getting tagged for speeding. And protect most of that big lead you had over Joey Logano. Dave?
As the run went along for Justin Allgaier, his car remained pretty tight, so they're going to have to make an adjustment if he wants to get into the top 10. That'll be a wedge adjustment in the left rear. 4 tires for Justin. Just announced this week, he'll be racing Sprint Cup starting in Chicagoland with the same sponsor and the same car owner.
Going to run 3 races for the rest of this season for Harry Scott Jr., who's buying James Finch's Phoenix Racing team after the Richmond races next weekend. Michael Annett, the race leader. Remember, he got the free pass last caution. Nothing to lose by leaving that car out as long as you can and see if you catch a yellow.
I would say you're probably going to see him on pit road here now. Hoping they might catch that.
So there it is. Annett pits here. And that will cycle the lead back around to Kevin Harvick. Vince?
These guys tested earlier this week at Chicagoland Speedway in anticipation of the upcoming race, but they felt like they found some things that translated into making their car better for this race. They are making a chassis adjustment, but Michael says the car has come to him. He feels like it's much better, and it's getting better and stronger. They've got something to work with down the stretch. Sunoco fuel and 4 Goodyears for Annett.
So after the cycle of pit stops is complete, the picture at the front of the pack still has the same numbers in the same places on the scoreboard, but their relative track position is much closer together.
Logano did a great job getting on and off pit road there.
Harvick first, Logano second, and 44 to go. Back live at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the NASCAR Nationwide Series race getting down to its late stages. There is the leader, Kevin Harvick, whose advantage on the pit stops that happened on the green flag a minute ago was considerably cut over second place, Joey Logano.
Since he's gotten back on the racetrack, though, he's increased that lead once again, almost 2 seconds.
Went from 5.2 seconds down to 0.9 seconds, and now Harvick beginning to stretch it out just a little bit. Now, if you think you know the outcome of the race, recent history here at Atlanta in these Nationwide Series events says, don't go away.
Yeah, nobody knows that better than Kevin Harvick. The last 2 years, you can see he was the leader late, and it cost him at the end by some turn of fate. He's had a good car tonight, but it's never over till it's over.
And I think what we're seeing here, too, is Harvick's car really, really fast. It doesn't slow down much, but Logano, once again, even though he made up time while he had those fresh tires on and Harvick was staying out there on the older tires, that allowed him to cut that gap down. But still, Logano's car is better after he gets some laps on. I think it goes back to what you were talking about early in the race, Andy, where he's hitting that splitter maybe early because he did that in qualifying, but his car gets a little better after 10 or 11 laps.
Yeah, I think his car's tuned up for more of like a 33-second lap, and right now they're still running sub-33s. They're running down to 32s, and I think once that pace overall slows down, that's where you see the 22 car actually come to the top.
And here's a guy who wants to see a yellow flag. Kyle Busch just wants another shot at him.
I think if we do see a late yellow, this is a car you got to watch for, because this car seems to be much better after he pancaked that ball and made whatever whatever adjustment it made.
Trevor Bayne running in 4th, but he's 10 seconds behind the race leader. And Austin Dillon contending for the championship, running in 5th place, just 1 spot ahead of Sam Hornish Jr., the championship leader starting tonight, who runs in 6th place.
Yeah, they looked like that they were going to be a top 2 or 3 car there earlier in the race, but they haven't kept up as the racetrack's cooled down, made and changed with more rubber getting on the racetrack. Just haven't been able to adjust it to Austin's liking. Still a good solid run.
So as these races begin to run out after tonight, going to be 9 left in the season with Dillon and Hornish and Sadler and Regan Smith and all these guys knotted up at the front of the standings really, really closely. How does that pressure begin to build as the number of races begins to shrink?
It just gets incredible. I mean, this is big to them and these teams, but these drivers, you hear things in the car, you see things happening on the racetrack that maybe you didn't, you think of things that could go wrong, and you know that each lap that you make is critical, and each decision that you make as a driver is very critical.
Yeah, and as far as the crew goes, making sure that the car is, Sam, a little out of shape, making sure the car is durable, nothing happens to it. The other thing is you can't afford to have a bad race between now and the end. You've got to make sure that you have that car competitive every week. You can't afford to be off. Like tonight, we see the 11 car of Elliott Sadler. He's kind of out to lunch. You cannot do that these next 9 weeks.
Yeah, and you're not going to win in any one of these races till we get to the end. You're not going to win the championship, but you could sure lose the championship in one of these nights by making a big mistake.
And playing not to lose sometimes is the hardest. I'm thinking of Sam when I say this. Playing not to lose is harder than doing what comes naturally for a race driver, which is going all out to win.
And that's what this team did early in the year, and they did that. They won it. I believe it was Las Vegas. They went out there and really proved they were championship worthy. But it's almost like they're in that defensive mode right now.
Sam giving up a spot on the track in this race as Casey Kane got by him. Kane to 6th and Hornish to 7th. Kevin Harvick in the race lead, but this on his radio.
Like the left rear is loose. Vibrating pretty bad.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good.
That's something that's not going to get better. Take care of itself, and way too long to go around this 1.5-mile racetrack. Too many laps.
Ernie Cope, the crew chief. That'll raise your blood pressure.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they've had the best car in the last, the last 3 times counting this one.
Yep.
And seem to have found a way to lose it.
There you go. 9 of the last 11 times Kevin's led the most laps. He hasn't won.
Pretty bad and keep loose.
The longer you run it, the worse it's going to be. And then when you do make the pit stop and change it, if you run it too long, the wheel will not tighten back up. Saw that happen to Kurt Busch last week.
Added pressure on that. This is the Nationwide Series. Right. Kevin's a contender for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Championship. At what point do you have to just call him in and play it safe?
Yeah, no driver wants to put himself in that position. Again, the speed's high here. It goes to 180 miles an hour. No driver wants to have that happen, but certainly in Kevin's situation where he is going to be in the chase and battling for a Sprint Cup Championship, you can't take that risk.
But ultimately, the decision becomes his, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the guy holding the wheel.
Yeah, the crew chief can go over and talk to the guys. Did they get him? You sure you got him tight? But that driver's the one that has to make that decision. You know what you're feeling inside the race car. And the good thing about it tonight is, even though he's a great competitor, if it is the wrong decision and there's something, but he's feeling something. And Kevin Harvick is too good of a race driver and has too good a feel for a car for there not to be something there that's affecting it and giving this feel.
Now, will we see another caution that'll help Harvick out? Will he have to pit under the green? How will the final laps of this race play out? Coming back to Atlanta Motor Speedway to see how the Great Clips Grit Chips 300 turns out. A little primetime racing Sunday night from Atlanta. Tomorrow night, 7 Eastern ESPN. Second to last race to determine who makes the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting on pole position for that 500-miler. Kevin Harvick in the lead with this one, having 20 laps to go for the NASCAR Nationwide Series tonight. Gap over Joey Logano, staying steady at a second and change. Though Harvick earlier radioing in that he felt a vibration and feared there might be a loose wheel on this 33 car.
Yeah, we were watching. I wanted to see if maybe he had rubbed this left front splitter. He'd been running the low side of the racetrack and scraping it almost every lap. And I wondered if maybe he had ground through that and that was causing some of that vibration. But from this shot, it's obviously not. But you can see that line he's running is right on that yellow line.
Story of the race, Kyle Busch dominated early, then Kevin Harvick has dominated from the midsection of the race on toward the end. Joey Logano clunking the wall after a right front tire went down. Back at lap number 85, but the race stayed green. He got back to pit road, changed tires, and cycled through the green flag pit stop, staying in second place, where he runs now. Kyle Busch faded as far back as sixth, plunked the right rear of his car off the wall, and improved its handling, and rocketed back up to third position, though he's gotten no closer to the front than the number 3 spot. The rivalry on the night between Joe Gibbs Racing's 54 team and Roger Penske's 22 team for the team championship, the owners championship in the Nationwide Series, playing to a virtual draw so far tonight.
Yeah, because Kyle Busch has led a lap and Logano has yet to lead a lap. Well, they're basically at the same 16-point margin that they came into this one.
And at this point, Kyle Busch's frustrations in this Nationwide Series at Atlanta will continue. One of the few tracks where he's not won a race, though things can happen in the final 17 laps.
Yeah, 17 to go. If we have a late caution, I think this is the guy you need to watch.
We'll see. Still watching that Kevin Harvick situation. Jamie?
Well, Kevin said about 5 laps ago, trouble. So I just went up and I asked crew chief Vernon Cope, how long are you going to keep your driver out? He said, until the wheel falls off. How competitive is that? We have nothing to lose.
Well, that's how long the crew chief's going to keep him out there, but I'm not. It's a matter of when the driver thinks.
Right, yeah. What I said before, too, right? The decision ultimately rests in Kevin's hands, literally and physically in his hands. He's got the steering wheel, and he's the only one can tell how bad it is, right?
Yeah, and apparently this has stabilized somewhat from what Kevin thought was going to be a real issue for them, because he continues to set some of the fastest laps of anybody out there. Has built his lead back up to almost a second and a half over this 22 car now.
I tell you, I look around, I see a lot of racing going on. We've seen, you know, only the top 9 cars now on the lead lap. Everybody trying to stay on that lead lap. There's the 2 car of Brian Scott. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a late caution.
People slipping and sliding, trying to hang on.
Yeah, well, you see Brian, teammate of Kevin Harvick, doesn't give him much trouble. Saw a few laps ago, the 30 and the 31 teammates at Turner Scott, they were trying to stay on the lead lap, racing each other, just about had a little issue.
Trouble, front stretch. One going up in smoke, into the wall hard. Jeff Green.
Oh, that's a hard lick for Jeff.
Yeah, I'm fine. Hell, I thought I had him for game room.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That is a heavily damaged race car. Wow.
Yeah, boy. You should appreciate how fast they are going here.
That's one of those I heard before I saw, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And that happened right in front of us.
Yeah, down kind of where it's hard for us to see from our vantage point. But I'm like Alan, I heard.
So Jeff was making a pass on another car. Right here's Jeff on the inside in the tri-oval. Looks like he's not quite clear. Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, your car tends through there, wants to go out towards the wall anyway, but like Jeff thought that he had enough of a run to clear there.
Trying to clear Ken Butler in the 24 car, and that is the result. And so the caution is out. And fortunately, you've heard Jeff report that he's okay.
I think it's that secondary hit that did all the damage on that other part of the tri-oval wall. You can see this. Kevin Harvick sees this happen right in front of him.
So as the pace car gathers up the field, no brainer here, right?
Yeah, they've got tires sitting in the pit, so they'll make a pit stop, get 4 tires. It's going to be a race for the pit crews. Short run to the end. Like I said, I think Kyle Busch is a guy I'll be watching on this next restart, depending on how this pit stop goes.
Pit road is closed as you see Jeff Green continuing to sub for Eric McClure in that 14 car, making the walk to the ambulance.
Yeah, Jeff Green's car is actually sitting on the exit of pit road, so they want to make sure they get it cleaned up before these cars make pit stops. It's the entire radiator ductwork.
Well, in this race last year, it was a late caution and a late restart that saw things get away from Kevin Harvick. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. passed Harvick on the last lap of the race to score the win. A year ago, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race here. A year ago, a late caution cost Martin Truex Jr. the opportunity for a win. This is the finish of the Nationwide Series race here a year ago, with Stenhouse and Keselowski getting by Harvick on that last lap in that late twist of plot.
Andy, with the amount of laps on tires, I know you talked to some of these guys. Is this a time to roll the dice for somebody back, not those top guys, but to put 2 tires on and get some track position and try to steal a win?
No.
Okay. I would agree 100% as a driver.
Yeah, I want 4. I think, there may be somebody that tries that and may get the track position, but they won't keep it. There's only going to be 10 cars total.
Yeah, and that's with the wave around.
Yeah, so it's really 9 cars on the lead lap when they make these pit stops.
Wave around have to start behind everybody, so it'd be an opportunity. I mean, you're sitting there, Regan Smith, sitting in 9th. You're probably not going to finish worse than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something he doesn't have a lot to lose, but I don't think it's a winning move. 4 tires, I think, is what it's going to take to win.
All right, let me add another layer to that discussion. The longer the pit road stays closed, and the fewer laps there are going to be to the finish.
Okay, we got 11. That still's more than I want to run on 2 tires. We'll see what it comes down to. I'm not thinking anything but 4 right now. You're not going to change my mind.
Just giving you things to think about, that's all. Well, for Kevin Harvick, certainly if that vibration was continuing and he just decided to drive through it and ignore it, an opportunity to get a fresh wheel on that thing. And
so he'll have to change
that
because it's on the left side.
And if I look at this group of cars and I think about the crew chiefs, the one that I look on there that likes to do things like this is Mike Kelly with that 6 car. And he's the man.
Yeah, he might try.
Ricky Stenhouse in victory lane here last year.
Yeah.
I just the kind of things that he likes to do.
If he makes it work, he'll make a believer out of me, but I don't believe it now. We'll see.
Pit road open is the call from NASCAR Race Control. So here it is. Crew chiefs, drivers, and pit crew members.
Yeah, the pit crews are the ones that are feeling the pressure here because they're going to make a big, difference in who is going to restart and how they finish. Their car's going to finish this race.
Opportunity exists here.
Yep. Very little fuel, if any, that they're going to need.
Yeah, they don't really need any fuel. They may take a splash, but if they've got enough, they probably won't put any in them.
With 10 laps to go, the leaders are on pit road. Jamie?
Kevin Harvick has asked for an all-star stop. This is when it counts. Our main goal here is to get 4 new tires on here. Don't worry about the gas. They did make a slight air pressure adjustment to try to free him up a little bit. The 22, meanwhile, Joey Logano. He's tight, but no changes to this car. 4 tires. Dave?
Place Austin Dillon, upper right. He'll get 4 tires and an adjustment, a little tight on takeoff. As for Kyle Busch, he'll get 4 tires. His crew will try to take him from 3rd to 1st. It's not going to happen. The race off between Joey Logano and Kevin Harvick goes to
Kevin Harvick.
I think that was 2 great pit stops, though.
Do we beat him? Yep. How everybody?
Pressure was on, and they got it done. But yes, 2 great pit stops by the 33 and 22 teams, and that was the difference at the scoring line. Cleanup's complete. We're half a lap from the restart. That'll come with 7 laps to go. Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano's team dueling to a draw on the pit lane.
These are both great pit stops. It's when all the money's on the line. You see the right sides. I was watching as they were doing this, and both of these teams were executing just perfectly. You see it. Great right side stop for both teams. Almost identical. And then the race is on.
That's the gap. So free pass Brian Scott, 9 waiver rounds to the lead lap. Can Joey Logano in that outside lane stay with Kevin Harvick and watch Kyle Busch from inside row 2.
Logano really spun the wheels.
Look at Kyle. He's taking it to the outside of Harvick.
Sam Hornish in the yellow 12 and Casey Kane in the 5 looking for some running room also. Doesn't have him cleared quite yet.
You see Kyle get down on that quarter panel.
Outside.
Trying to loosen Harvick up.
He's got the advantage now.
Right down here is going to be the key this time. Can Harvick keep it on the bottom and get the drive off that he needs?
I believe he's going to be able to clear him.
Harvick to the lead.
That might have been the winning move right there.
Yeah.
Five laps for Kyle Busch to try and find a way back around. Big run off turn 2 there.
We've seen Harvick, you really stay on the bottom of the racetrack, but I think he saw that 54 getting that big run on the outside. He went up to block it.
Well, I think he just thought that he needed to get a little bit more out of it, and whenever he's in that position there, you try to do that. You don't keep it down there quite as good. Then you're in a bad or worse position to get the drive off that you need late getting back to the throttle. Great battle right here.
Dillon 3, Bain 6, Smith 7, Scott 2, 6th. Check that, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Logano 22, all the way back to 6th from 2nd on the restart.
Logano really struggles on these new tires.
Yeah, he does do that, and we've seen that second place driver on every restart from the very beginning of the race struggle in trying to get up speed, and this may be one of the most difficult tracks. I think you're at such a disadvantage, even more so than the drivers in 3rd and 4th, because you're trying to anticipate to keep up with the leader of the race, and it's just such a huge advantage for him, a disadvantage for that second place car.
One time earlier tonight while Kyle Busch was leading, he chose the outside lane. We figured then as kind of an experiment to see what would happen.
Well, he's not giving up. It's 2 to go. He's right there on Harvick.
Yeah, Harvick's not going to get off the bottom. Kyle's only thing is if he can get him loose enough or get to the quarter panel to keep him from getting that drive off. That's where Harvick's car is so good. See Kyle back in the throttle trying to get a big run.
A year ago, Kevin Harvick lost this race on the last lap to Ricky Stenhouse. Kyle Busch has never won a Nationwide Series race in Atlanta. They're fighting it out for the win, and they're coming to the white flag and the final lap tonight.
White flag here one more time.
He's going to have to make the outside work if he's going to get it done. Oh, he drove it in so far trying to loosen Harvick up.
See, look at Kyle. He is giving all he has. He's still not giving up.
That might have been the race, though, right there. That bobble in the middle of one.
Yeah, he did everything he could to get to his back bumper and loosen him up, but didn't make it.
Kevin Harvick is going to score another win at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Checkered flag tonight for the 33.
Just doing that all-star stop, don't leave that gas out.
Good job, guys.
Well, you saw Travis Pastrana take the checkered flag sideways.
I've seen him do some of that in the infield, but it's usually in a rallycross car.
Yeah. Pastrana and Vickers racing for a spot. That was for 15th place. And it dropped Travis down to 17th. Well, from fearing he had a loose wheel and getting the late caution flag that could have been both comfort and curse, Kevin Harvick had his hands full in those final 7 laps. But what a great job to restart and tactically hold off Kyle Busch.
And a bold move by the crew chief to say, hey, we're not going to pit until the wheel falls off of it. And there's always a chance the caution comes out and set up this situation. And boy, they executed perfectly tonight.
As we watch him, and Kevin Harvick did a great job winning this race. I looked at that 3rd spot at Sam Hornish, who looked like he was going to have his lead cut down tonight. Ran outside the top 5 most of the night. Drove his way up into 3rd on that last restart and increased his points lead.
And a great job. Kyle Larson drives up inside the top 5 as well, finishing 5th. Hey, Harvick, he's got something special here at Atlanta.
Now the celebration getting underway for Harvick shortly. Kyle Busch really gave it a great run and had to settle for 2nd.
Alan, he sure did. He, until the checkered flag, all the way to the checkers. Kyle, talk about racing Kevin there at the end and trying to get that win.
Just racing, right? That's just so short. I mean, I was too tight. Once I got in the fence and the last couple runs there, I was having a hard time holding it where I needed to, but fought hard and come up short.
But at one point, didn't getting in the fence correct your race car?
Yeah, it tightened it up for me because I was so loose, but there at the end, the last, I don't know, whatever that last run was, I was already tight, and we even freed it up for that. So I had to run on him one time. He blocked my air, put me in a fence, so you know, I had to stop and check up before I got to the fence, but you know, it's part of it. That's what it is. Second again.
Can you tell us about that wiggle in the middle of turn 1 over here, trying that last lap?
Arrow loose. You get in behind somebody and you get arrow loose.
Kyle Busch drove it very hard tonight, again 2nd in Atlanta. AB?
Well, Kyle heading to the press room for his post-race interviews, while Kevin Harvick is headed for victory lane to celebrate a win in Atlanta.
The last 2 years here, you were the leader at the final caution, and it didn't turn your way. Tonight, it was so close. How were you able to clear Kyle?
Yeah, you know, we did a great job on pit road. Just got to thank everybody from Bad Boy Buggies, Hunt Brothers, Armor, Nationwide Insurance, Chevrolet, Westco, everybody involved in this team. But we were definitely too tight. I just had to change my approach there a little bit at the end. I knew Kyle was going to go for it, but it's fun racing with him.
You had a loose wheel for a while. I asked Ernie Cope, your crew chief, how long will you keep him out? He said, till the wheel falls off, but you guys got a break. What were those laps like with the loose wheel after you had dominated the second half of this race?
Well, that's 2 years in a row, actually 3 years in a row that we've had a dominant car, and you know, you think something's going to go wrong, but we just kept digging, and these guys did a great job all weekend, brought the same stuff back that we had last year, and it worked again.
Heard different feedback on this new tire. You're racing tomorrow night. What did you learn maybe that you can take into tomorrow night's strategy?
Well, everything in this car is the same as it was last year, except for small tweaks here and there. So everything on the Cup side is so much different, but just rhythm, and that's what this place is all about.
Keelan, your good luck charm. His 1-year-old son went in the seat. I'm looking for him. She should be bringing him out any minute.
He's probably sleeping.
It's too late. Daddy's celebrating in victory lane for the 2nd time in the Nationwide Series here at Atlanta. Alan?
Well, you've heard from 1st and 2nd after their hard-fought final 7 laps. Kevin got to do the victory burnouts. Kyle had to walk away disappointed. Kevin Harvick spent so much time in the lead of this race tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway, it's almost easy to forget that he started back in 20th place before he got to the lead about a third of the way into the race.
Yeah, he didn't waste much time getting himself up there in a position to challenge for this and then dominated after that.
Sam Hornish Jr. protecting the championship lead.
Yeah, like I say, Cal Larson gets a good top 5 finish. Also, Dillon faded a little bit back to the lower part of the top 10, but he challenged early.
Joey Logano second for late restart, but wound up 6th.
It wasn't exactly the night that Joey Logano was expecting. He brings it home just outside the top 5, 6. Not a bad night, but I know you're not happy with it.
It's frustrating. We had that flat tire, and we rebounded from that pretty well. Just trying to recover from having a fender knocked in, and you're trying to get your balance back right. And we come in that last pit stop, and just didn't adjust enough for our load of fuel we were going to put in it. And spun my tires on the start, which is my fault. And then I was just so tight, I couldn't keep up anymore. So it's just frustrating when you had a car that could have won in the beginning of the race, and then you feel like you had a second-place car and you finished 6th. I'm just mad.
The Owners' Championship, still very much a conversation with 9 races to go in the nationwide season. Those standings tightened up a little bit tonight. Your thoughts on how this is all playing out now with 9 to go?
Well, we had the opportunity to gain points tonight, and we didn't. But we also had a really big opportunity to lose a lot when we hit the wall there. So I guess we rebounded decent. I just felt like we were better than what we were. And we just keep racing like we've been. I mean, just doing our deal, and I mean, going out there to win races. You know, like I said in the beginning of the race, that's the only way we're going to beat those guys is win races. And we had a shot at it today. We just didn't capitalize.
Joey Logano brings it home 6th there in Atlanta.
Before the race, Sam Hornish's crew chief Greg Irwin said, keep the fenders on it and keep the big picture in mind. You were able to do that tonight, brought it home 3rd. How big was this for your team in the championship hunt?
Our line truck parts Ford Mustang was pretty good over the long run, but for the first half of the race, we were just way too free to be able to take advantage of that. So we had good calls throughout the night and consistently made our car better. And luckily, we were at our best at the very end of the race. And I just, hats off to the guys that are working on this. Everybody at Penske Racing. This was a new car for us to bring, so we've still got some tweaking to do. But the fact that we're continually are pumping out some new stuff to try to be better is really shows the commitment that we have over here. And I mean, it's just a lot of fun to be here, and want to thank Nationwide Insurance, and I just I didn't know what we were going to get out of tonight. It's running 7th, 8th place, 6th place a lot, just able to catch people but not able to get the passes done, and just really thankful and feel really blessed that I get to come out here and do what I love to do and move on to the next one. I love going to Richmond, so I can't wait to get to next weekend.
Sam Hornish Jr. still the Nationwide Series points leader.
Vince, thanks, and a look at those standings now with 9 races to go. Beginning that stretch with next Friday night's race in Richmond.
Yeah, starting to shape up to a 2-car race. You see Austin Dillon 10 back, but Elliott Sadler losing some points. He's 26 back.
Yeah, and those are the kind of nights right there that Sam Hornish and his team, if they go on to win this championship, that they'll remember that that was a good solid 4 or 5 point difference than what they were looking at, and that's what championship teams and drivers do.
But that 10-point lead can all evaporate in a snap. Yes. And a short track like Richmond next Friday. Going to be a lot of tension and an interesting fight over these next couple of months. Kevin Harvick celebrating a win tonight at Atlanta Motor Speedway. More coming up. Take the pictures, change the hat. Take the pictures, change the hat. But you'll do it every time when it comes with a checkered flag and a winner's trophy. More winner's trophies up for grabs this weekend, and you'll see it on the ESPN networks, including the Chevy Performance NHRA U.S. Nationals from Indy. Qualifying runs 1 Eastern tomorrow on ESPN2, and the final eliminations at noon Eastern on Monday, Labor Day, here on ESPN2. Also on the weekend, the American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Baltimore, noon Eastern tomorrow on ABC. And tomorrow night, the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. In a race that'll be crucial to determining who makes the chase, 500 miles here at Atlanta, telecast presented by Pennzoil, ESPN at 7 Eastern time. Back downstairs to Vince.
An eventful night for Casey Kane. Spun early in the race, had a long pit stop, came at the end and got a little air pressure for one last run at it and didn't quite have enough at the end. How much more did you need?
I needed a little more. I think we were on the splitter a little too hard at the end for, just to drive that hard into the corner. And that's how Sam got back by me. I just landed so hard on the front and pushed and didn't get my front back. And then I was behind him, so it was hard to get back by him. But I think we were 3rd quickest at the end. Just A couple more adjustments, and maybe we would have been a touch better. But Harvick he's the guy to beat. I think every time we come here, he's just got this place covered in one of these cars.
Strong finish for Casey Kane, 4th tonight.
5th place for Kyle Larson tonight in his first race in Atlanta history for you. What'd you think of the track and the race?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually ran here in the truck last year, but the Nationwide car was totally different. It was, really slick out there. We practiced really tight, and then it was, total opposite once the race started off. We were really loose, and then made some adjustments, and we were, really good the second run, and then got away from it a little bit, and then got back being good there at the end. So I just want to thank Cessna, my whole Turner Scott Motorsports team, Nationwide Insurance, all the fans that tune in to watch, and all the fans here. I enjoyed the race. I hope they did too.
So Kyle's second Atlanta experience turns out to be a top 5.
6th place for Trevor Bayne, another top 10. You keep stringing them together here. I know you wanted better. That last restart, what happened?
Yeah, we're getting the runs that we want now. Almost. We're working on these top 5s, top 3s, and wins. I thought we had that tonight. We were running top 5 majority of the night. These guys did a great job with the Sam's Club Mustang, and Atlanta's one of my favorite tracks anyway, so it's really good to be here, and appreciate the fans and Nationwide Insurance for coming out. But there at the end, man, we just got bottled up on the restart. Had nowhere to go. The 22 and the 3 spun the tires in front of me, and I had to wait till the start-finish line to go to the top. I got black flag for that once this year, and I did not want to make that mistake again. Waited till the line, went to the top, and got a couple, but man, it just really bottled us up. The inside lane win, and a few of them got by us. That we were faster than all night, but we'll keep working hard.
Strong run. Trevor Bayne, 6th.
All right, Vince, thanks. And from here, the Nationwide Series Championship Trail leads to Virginia's capital city next weekend.
Should be a good one there. I love the short track at Richmond.
Yeah, it's one of the best tracks as a driver. I think every driver loves to go there and race, and we'll see a fantastic show once again.
Join us at the track for these upcoming races or here on television. And NASCAR.com/tickets is how you find out more information, or the number at the bottom of your screen. Back down to the pit and garage area to Dave.
Regan Smith came home 9th this evening. Regan, describe your evening.
Well, it started off really good. I wish the sun would have stayed up, because I was real happy with the Tax Slayer Chevy early on in the race. And just seemed like as the sun went down, the track cooled off. We lost the balance just a little bit. We made a lot of adjustments to try and get it back. Every stop we were consistently trying to find something that was going to get it to wake back up again. But, never did. The last restart, it cleared and got a big opening and got a big run down on the bottom there, and I couldn't quite clear the 22 off the bottom, and just bogged me down and lost, it felt like, about 10 spots as they all went buzzing by me on either side. But proud of the effort this weekend by these guys. We had a lot of struggles yesterday, and they worked hard overnight to get the car much better today, and we had a good car to start with. We just lost on it just a little bit there.
4th in the championship with 9 to go.
Dave, thanks. And as we watch the victory celebration continue for Kevin Harvick, thought on what you saw tonight and what it might lead for tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they can get these Cup cars to go around the bottom like that, and even Kevin Harvick, can he get his to do that? If I were going to go back and think about next year for this, I would watch a tape of Kevin Harvick and make every practice lap that I made doing that and try to figure out what to do with my car. But another dominating performance. Kyle Busch come up a little bit short, but a great race once again.
Yeah, it was. And I was watching how well the tire performed. I thought it did a great job tonight. I think it's going to make for a better race tomorrow. And I think it's going to be more difficult for the Cup cars to run that bottom lane like we saw Kevin Harvick. If anybody can pull it off, though, we saw what the payoff can be. Kevin did a great job tonight, and my hat's off to him.
Well, Kevin's going to have to do a hard night's work if he's going to win Sunday night's race. He's starting in 30th position tomorrow night, but he started 20th tonight, and he's celebrating in victory lane. Our coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on ESPN at 7 Eastern tomorrow night, presented by Pennzoil. And up next, college football scoreboard. Find out what happened on the gridiron today. Kevin Harvick had to work hard to hold off Kyle Busch, but in the end, he's celebrating in Atlanta's victory lane.